III, is that correct?
Yep.
And you're a native Findlayite, I understand.
That's it, yep.
And you were born in the Blanchard Valley? Or?
I was born here in Blanchard Valley Hospital.
Very cool. And your mom and dad are Brenda and Boyd Jr., is that correct?
Yep. Yep.
And you've carried on the tradition. You have a son that's Boyd Davis IV.
That's right. No middle names, just keeps it going.
Keeps it going. All right. Well, let's talk about growing up here in Findlay. You were born here in Findlay. Where'd you go to elementary, middle school?
Went to Wilson Vance Elementary School. Went to Central Middle School.
It's not there anymore.
I know, looks a lot different, but pretty neat. Great memories at Wilson Vance. Great teachers. Actually, my elementary school principal was named Mrs. Schooley. I always found that to be interesting. But yeah, I went to Findlay High School.
What did you study at Findlay High School? What was your emphasis there? Did you have?
It's college prep. I knew I was going to go to school. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. I didn't think I was going to go the physical therapy route. But I did have physical therapy in school when I hurt my shoulder in football. So that gave me a little exposure to it. And as college went on, it's where I felt like I was supposed to be.
So you played sports, academic football, and
yeah.
Anything else?
Gosh, when I was 5 years old, I started martial arts, got my black belt. That was full time, so that was, my mom wouldn't let me play any other sports because it was year round, almost every day, tournaments, practice. Once I got my black belt, I decided I want to play other sports. And so she's like, okay, you can choose what you want. So I decided to go to football. I did baseball, basketball. I did a little dancing. And then I went to...
You were in FFE, were you?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I did Grand Central in middle school. Got my exposure to more music, dancing, show choir. And then high school, went on to play football, did FFE, did VIP as well. And then I went to Bowling Green State University. Got to play rugby. And I was a cheerleader there for a small time. Found out wasn't really interested in it as I thought I was, but rugby was a lot of fun. I did it for 3 years. In fact, we went to the national championship tournament in California. That was a great experience.
And you got a degree at BG?
Yep.
What was that in?
Teaching, phys ed. At that time, I knew, I started out at Bowling Green in business, and just because I didn't know what I was going to do. And I thought, okay, I can get my feet wet, see what this is like. And I started to, I was playing rugby, and a lot of my friends were in education. So I thought about it, and it made more sense to me that something more sport-related, and I like coaching. So I got into that side for a couple of years, but after I did some student teaching, I didn't think it was going to be my cup of tea. So instead of...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was it students?
Yeah. I think for me, it was, the way I was raised was, you don't talk unless you're spoken to, especially to an adult. And so that's how I viewed my life, and that's how I viewed society to be, is respectful to the adults. And so I went to Gibsonburg and did my student teaching and various other places in Toledo, and I found that the teachers would say, these are great students, they're the best we have. And they would throw balls at you, and there'd be, a lot more issues than I expected. I felt like I wasn't able to really teach. And so I just didn't know if I had the talent to really bring that out at the time. And so then physical therapy popped in my head. One of my exercise physiology teachers, his wife is an occupational therapist, and he talked to me about it for a while. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And so my senior year in school, I decided to take pre-med along with getting my degree in education. I didn't want to start all over in undergrad. I wanted to get my degree. I did take my teaching license exam, make sure I had something to fall back on.
Very good. And you passed?
I passed, yeah. But I didn't do anything else after that. Went to Owens Community College to finish up a couple other classes to get into University of Findlay.
What made you choose the University of Findlay?
That's something that's really interesting looking back. I don't know why, but I only applied to one school. Not very smart. But I started to gain confidence in my education and my skills of learning. And I wasn't very confident in how smart I was. But, my mom was a teacher. She instilled great learning tools for me, different types of ways to learn in games and such. But still, I would perform at average, even though I spent hours in high school. 8 hours at night studying for a high school test is a lot, I think, especially when you're in so many sports and activities. But for some reason, I must have matured. My brain must have matured more in college, about my junior year. And those same activities and learning tools that I had, finally I started to see results. And there started to come the straight A's. So I started to gain confidence when I started to get straight A's. My junior and senior year at Bowling Green. Going into Owens Community College, I took 20 credits first semester. I took 18 the second semester. And the first semester included anatomy, physiology, physics, the whole pre-med. They advised me not to do it. They said, you won't make it, you might not pass these courses, they're too heavy science. But I demanded that, listen, I can do this. I have nothing else going on. I'm gonna be here all day, all night. And I think it was like medical terminology, abnormal psychology, physics, A&P, chemistry, organic, inorganic. Finished that up, and I think I had all A's and a B. Second semester was the second half of those courses. So I thought, man, what I did was I went to the University of Findlay, the dean and the director of the program, and I would come in once a month, and I would just show my face and say, hey, how's the application process going? So they knew that Boyd Davis had a face and that they could relate to me. And so they started to know me by first name basis, seeing if they needed any other papers. And I hope and I think that impacted my application process.
Is it a tough process to get into the physical therapy?
I hear it is, yes. I didn't feel it. I had nothing to lose. I knew I could fall back on teaching. But looking back, I've had a lot of students come through me for observation and clinical instructor, as I've been their clinical instructor for therapy, and I've had students try and have great academics, good extracurriculars, and 2 years go by and they can't get in at other universities, but they applied to multiple universities. I know it's very tough to get in, but I didn't feel it. So I was really lucky, grateful.
So the door opened at the University of Findlay. Tell me about the program.
Oh man, awesome. Every stage of my life in education, I've been surrounded with excellent educators, excellent people. Elementary school, I nominated my Mrs. Belts for a Golden Apple Award. I thought she was phenomenal. I loved her to death. Middle school, I had 3 or 4 teachers that were just so great to me. They were like just friends. I just felt like I loved them too. Got to high school and I felt the same way. I had a few teachers that were just excellent. I had great results there. Homecoming king, that was kind of funny. But I think that's just a reflection on how involved I was in school. I got to college here, even at Bowling Green, but at the University of Findlay, it's been great. Probably my best teacher, the one that pushed me the hardest, Dr. Bullion. I don't think she's no longer here anymore, but she pushed me the hardest.
What'd you teach?
Exercise physiology, gross anatomy. Those are the first 2 that stick out in my head. But that was the most brutal course, gross anatomy, I've ever taken. I've taken 4 anatomy courses before that and did well. I still struggled in hers. You think I'd have a pretty good background and pretty good, leg up in it, but she just challenged you to think outside the box. She really made you think more functional versus just what's this muscle and what does it do. So she really challenged me, challenged all of us. I think that's why I think our class was really strong.
You talk about a strong class. Do you have a camaraderie
Oh, man.
with your group?
About 32 of us that's when my cancer experience started. And I met some really lifelong friends when I joined when I got into the University of Findlay. Really great people. Nathan Patton is still one of my best friends. I talked to him today. He actually works here at Bridge Home Health. But in the first couple months of school, he was my lab cadaver partner or whatever. We were classmates and in the same group together. And from that point on, that's when I started experiencing some cancer pain or whatever. But I think 3.5 years I was at the program, my cancer experience pretty much took up that whole time. From getting diagnosed to surgeries. I had students from class come to the Cleveland Clinic to visit, and that was really great. Teachers write me emails all the time, letters, call me. That's why I just felt like they're more than just teachers, they're your friends. And Dr. Bullion did write once, she's like, it's really touching, but she said, "You're my rock in so many ways." And coming from her, it was pretty great. Because she just seemed like so stoic and so knowledgeable. I just don't see her as extremely teddy bear loving, but yet I still had that connection with her, and so to read that was very touching. But when I got diagnosed, it was a 40-hour-a-week chemo regimen. Every other week, depending on how my blood counts were. So doing school full time was literally impossible. But by the good man upstairs and the people that I was surrounded with, they decided to have a meeting about my current condition. And they said, we don't think you're gonna succeed, so we have a hard time watching you stay in school and not being here for a week at a time. 40 hours of chemotherapy meant I had to go to Cleveland for 5 days in a row and stay the night. So I wouldn't be here and physical therapy isn't something you just learn on the internet or on the tablet. It's something very manual. But I wrote him a letter expressing my desire and determination to stick in the program. I basically said this: I have nothing else to do. I'm not going to sit for a whole year in chemo and wait. So if I fail, it's me, it's not you. And I want that challenge. And I had a couple meetings with individual teachers, and they said, "I just had to hear it from you. I had to hear it from you. I want to know it." And after we talked, and they said, "All right, you don't get any special treatment. You don't get to take tests later. We don't get to make a special course for you. If you get behind, you get behind, and if you fail, that's it." And I was totally fine with that. That's all I wanted, is give me a chance. Like I said, I don't know how I did it, but that first semester in chemo, I think I got all A's and a B, and it pretty much stayed that route the whole course. I got like 27 A's and 6 B's and a C. Going through, week in chemo, week in class, week in chemo. And your week in class isn't you're great and focused. It's recovery week. You're trying to get better.
What drove you?
I don't know. I don't know what drives me, but that's been something I've been born with, I think, in everything that I do. Sports, music, education.
You have an inner strength. Where do you get that from?
It's hard to explain. I think, I don't know, this is how I feel that it is. Find something I love and I want really badly, and nothing's going to stop me to get it. I don't know why. I don't know how it works, but it's interesting working and watching, observing people if they don't have that motivation. I don't know how you get it. I think sometimes just a gift I was given for me. But man, I think my biggest challenges in life have been education, in a sense, because I haven't, people that know me, that really know me, they know that things don't come easy. but they got to see me in the background studying and studying and studying and studying. And studying is fun to me. I love to be up until midnight studying. I don't get tired. I don't get fatigued I don't like this class. I liked every class I ever took. I wasn't one to think, oh, I only liked my courses that I studied in school for my degree, and I don't like these other courses because they don't relate to it. I just found it to be another opportunity to learn something different. And if it was a good teacher, I liked it even more. It was a challenge, so I don't know, I think it's part of its perfection.
So with the class and with the cancer, what was it like when you walked across the stage? Now you got is it a master's?
Yeah,
a master's?
Last class for the master's, which is fine. That's one of the teachers said, well, if you wait a year, you can get your doctorate. And I didn't want it. I said, I want it now. I've started, I don't want to stop. But you see, when I got sick, people knew at the beginning. They didn't know personally that I was out, like what it was, but they knew I was missing school a lot. So we had this course where we were supposed to present to the students signs and symptoms of a diagnosis that may look more systemic, which we would say is like cancer or an appendicitis attack, something that physical therapy wouldn't be great for. I mean, you couldn't solve that issue, but it could look like it could be a hip flexor issue, or it could be appendicitis. You don't really know. It could be back pain, or it could be kidney cancer. Is basically what mine was. And so I presented it like I was a patient, and they had to figure it out. That's how we had to present these presentations. Except I used me as the model. And by the end, half people were crying. I think they knew it was me. So it was right off the bat, I became very relatable, I think, and very vulnerable and open to my classmates. I felt like what other way to just tell everybody, And at the end of the presentation, you told what the diagnosis really was, and I showed my CAT scan and my past medical history. So they knew at the end it was me. And from that point on, an love the next 3 years from the students came. They would come to Cleveland Clinic, like I said, they would come to my house in off weeks, they would come in summertime, they would come. They would send stuff all the time. Visits, candy, pizzas, flowers, anything that they could think about. Sometimes they'd make me lunch. So I had a lot of support. And the biggest thing for the education part was I had a couple students, like my best friends in class, Nathan and Megan. Grody's her name. And they took 2 notes at the same time to give me all the notes. And I got a couple sets of notes just in case if the one person missed something, the other one got it. And they copied it and gave it to me in my off week, so I was able to study while I wasn't there. I could study and study, so I wasn't by myself studying ever. I was reading their notes, sprinkled in with my notes, sprinkled in with phone calls from teachers, emails from teachers to say this is what we covered. So I was always prepared for my tests, and you know what? I never missed one test. Every one was taken on time. The very last test I took for my college career was the next day. I had an appointment, I believe, but everything before that, I never had to take a week off and say, I'll get that test later, I'll turn that project in later. It seemed like every time something was due was on my off week, and I was able to be there.
Sounds like it was a village effort to get you through.
It really was.
Very cool.
It lightened my burden, and that's the community, that's the University of Findlay, that's the type of people they take.
Did you feel fear at any time? You don't seem to be one that gets bothered by fear.
I wouldn't say fear. I don't think I have fear at all, even now. If I were to go today, it's okay. I think before you're married and have children, I didn't have fear because I felt like I lived a very full life. Like I said, the experiences that I had in high school, I was lucky enough to be in the same team as Ben Roethlisberger, and I really thought that was really neat. I got to play football with him and experience that high level of a performer. Got to be in show choir and perform for thousands of people in St. Louis and Orlando, Florida. We traveled the country. It was amazing. So I got to have a lot of experiences that a lot of people don't get to have. My parents were able to take us around the world, Germany, Europe, Mexico. So I felt like at 24, if that was the time to go, I was totally cool with it. The only thought I had was I may not be able to graduate or, have children and be married. People may take those things for granted. I could see that I would, just if everything was good and you're just coasting through life and that's the next stage. But I thought, wow, those are pretty, important parts of your life I may not get to experience. So that does give me some more motivation to get through difficult times, because that's my goal. I wanted to walk across that stage and get my degree. And to walk, and I did. So there was no fear. The hard part is watching everybody else be sad. You feel for them, but you don't feel for yourself. But having children and a wife changes that a little bit.
So let's talk about that. You've been married for 5 years now?
Yep, 5 years on the 27th of November.
On the 27th of November.
Yes.
I remember that well. And you're married to?
Kellen Briggs Davis. Her maiden name is Briggs, but it's her middle name now. We have 2 boys. Boyd Davis IV, he's 3, and Briggs Corbin Davis, and he's 8 months old.
Now, when you went into the marriage, there was an understanding that you may not be able to have children, isn't that right?
It's true. So before I started chemotherapy, I thought it'd be a good idea to store my semen for that opportunity if needed, because I may be sterile or unable to have children. Once we got married, I went to go get checked, and I had very little active mobility with my sperm, so they felt that, give it a try. If it doesn't work, we have some things in store for you to do before we would go to the stored semen. It's an expensive process, but very shortly after, and then again, haven't seemed to have any issues.
Very cool.
So far.
You have a strong woman that would be willing to go into that relationship too, because she's from a family that loves
Yep.
children and
Yep.
wanted her own. And
Absolutely, she's adopted, and so they kind of can understand that process of not having children. And strong for my wife to see, we met before I got cancer. We were only friends for about 3 years before we got married, and we dated in between other people. But she was still in the background. And she was still in the background to kind of see from afar the struggles of my life at that time. But, it's the way it works. It's a good process. I had good people in place like yourself to help me think and to push my mind, to challenge me. And sometimes, to answer your question about motivation or determination, when you know you want something and you feel it, then it's go time. But if you don't know it or if you don't feel it, you may not go through it because it's something that you don't really think you care about, But as we talked about in our personal conversations about the gospel, my heart was opened, and I think that when I have a conviction and a testimony of something that's true, whether it's my wife, my friends, my family, my education, the gospel, I'm all in. But yeah, she's very important in 8 years of my life, because she's been really, really great. Even now, to marry someone, that was a concern her parents had. You're gonna marry someone who may not be around very long. He doesn't have a very good outlook. And she didn't care.
so how did it change when you have children? How's your life changed with little ones?
It's gonna happen, or I felt like that. I knew it was gonna happen. It's not gonna be your life anymore. Or your time. You throw those things out the door. And it's really taking 2 people, and it's really incredible two people's backgrounds, it is different. And the way I was raised and the way she was raised is different. And the way that we come to the table with ideas of how to raise our children is different. But coming together to find a way to work for us, it's really interesting how this all works. Because you have two different people from different parts of life come together, get married, have children, and now you have these two children that are completely dependent on you. So it's been wonderful. Gosh, it wouldn't change it for the world. And you never know. You don't know until you experience it. You just don't know until you have children how it feels. But as far as, the cancer and stuff, it does make it harder to know if you weren't to be here to watch them struggle. But there's no fear in me for what I have to go through. It's just maybe watching them. Yeah, that's it.
Cancer's a big part of your life. It's involved you. It's involved your mother and your father.
Yeah.
So has that changed your closeness with your family? Has it brought you closer together as you struggled together?
I think before it started out with my mom and dad. Let's see, I was at Owens Community College in the spring. I had a class until 11 o'clock at night. Had a lot of credit hours. I was in Toledo going there and at the Owens, and my mom gave me a phone call, and so my dad was feeling like he had some chest issues, bronchitis. He's a smoker, COPD, so he went to the hospital. My mom had a mammogram week before. Felt a little bead in her breast. Thought I better get checked out. So dad's in the hospital. Mom says, I'm going to go see if they have my results. While they're separated, dad gets the results that he has lung cancer. Mom gets the results that she has breast cancer. So they come together, both holding the bag. Dad has like a yellow bag for lung cancer. Mom has this pink breast bag for breast cancer and all the information about it. And they're just like stunned. My dad's an emotional, quiet guy. Doesn't have much to say. My mom's this open person who's just like, can you believe it? Oh my gosh, I got breast cancer. She's not like crying or anything like that. She's just kind of like, wow, this is crazy. Both of us at the same time. So I get the phone call about 10 at night to tell me, hey, listen, this is what happened. I'm like, whoa, that's just ridiculous. Can't really fathom that right now. Let me get back to you when I'm done with my class. But 6 months before that, my grandma passed away of lymphoma. Now my parents, they went through their chemo. My dad did surgery. My mom did surgery. They finished up. My aunt passed away 6 months later from brain cancer. Before my parents got cancer, we didn't have a history of cancer in our family. It was mostly cardiovascular issue, heart attacks. That was it, old age. So my mom had it, my aunt had it, my dad. All of a sudden, I get it. I have a sister, and she's been clean ever since. But that experience really just kind of puts the walls down, tears the walls down, and you become very open in your language, which language meaning, talking about cancer, talk about death, talk about bodily functions. It doesn't really bother anybody anymore, because you go through it so much. You go through hospitals, you go through surgeries, you lose that little bit of modesty because you're exposed. But that has changed how we talk, It's very real to us that we could get the diagnosis tomorrow. In fact, my uncle just passed last week. So, like you said, it's pretty heavy diagnosis on my dad's side, and then my mom's side as well. Now that we have gone through these extra years, seeing that it has shown its ugly face.
But it's also, I've watched your parents survive and thrive.
Yep.
Has that been an example for you too? I mean, they're going with life and bought a car and on vacation and.
Absolutely, I think my mom is the rock as far as the marriage between my mom and my dad. My dad is very sensitive, very emotional, he needs a lot of help and support. But my mom is is that solid rock, never shaken. She gets sick, she's like, hey, that's what we're gonna do. And I find that I have more of my mom's ability to do that, to kind of hunker down and just, this is what we have, what do we gotta do? I like to be prepared before I go into my checkups. And when I say prepared, it's like, hey, we're gonna have this talk. If we get it, how are we gonna pay for it? How's the work gonna go? How's it, the impact won't be as great when you hear the words. It's still gonna be great, but not as bad when you're prepared. And that, I don't know if there's a control thing there. I'm sure there is. But it's better than going to say, for me, it's better than going ignoring it, and then boom, you have a lot to handle, a lot to deal with. So my mom is that rock, and she's able to say, they call each other Ma and Paul. So, hey, Paul, let's go on vacation. And it helps my dad kind of take his mind off things. Just living life, you got to get out and do stuff. You just can't be sitting at home wondering about the next cancer checkup, because that's how it is for my dad. He's had lung cancer 4 times since the first one, which was in 2007. And so, when you get cancer, it's like you're kind of separated from the world a little bit. You're not, before you get cancer, you're in the world. You're just living your life. You're part of everybody else. You're doing your thing. But when that happens, and you're kind of wondering about, may not be around, this is going to be a challenge. You're kind of removed from everybody. And you have to live your life a little different. It's just the way it is. I've talked to multiple cancer survivors and patients. And I hear the same thing, and that's it. You feel a little bit removed. And I definitely felt that. When I was in class, my skin was white. You remember. I looked like death. I had gray under my eyes, my gums, my lips were gray. And I had a hair in my body. Lost 40 pounds. And you look at everybody's tan, and they're talking, they're going to go work out, going to go have fun. And your next thing is your focus. School, chemo. School, chemo. Sprinkle in some workouts when you can get them in. But that's how it is. But my mom has that ability to separate that and say, let's go live life. That's really great. She's only had it once, but she's holding on. When that happens, it's like, you get perspective. You hope that you get perspective. I think you do. What's money? What's fame? It's nothing but your family. So, if you have money to get a car, get it. If that's what you want. Go have fun. But don't think it's going to make you happy, because it's really not the most important thing. So that's what they're doing. They want to go on vacation just to see the sea, ocean, the beach, the mountains. They do. And they visit their family all the time. We were in Arizona for 5 years, and they came out every 6 months to a year. So we saw them often. We didn't get here much, but they came back all the time. And they drove or they would fly. And really, their life, though, this is so true. When you start to age and you start to see the elderly or the sick, your life really does get scheduled around doctor's appointments. And that's what it is for them. So every week, chest x-ray, CAT scan, cancer checkup, blood work, chemo. Yes. When can we get out? We got 2 weeks here. Let's go. So that's how it works. But as a physical therapist, and I work with the elderly, it's so true. Even getting in to have visits with them, I have to work around multiple visits. Cardiology appointment, cancer doctor, primary care doctor. That's tough life when all you think about is the next pill, the next appointment,
How has this affected your patient care?
That's an interesting question. I didn't have patient care before I was sick. So I don't know the other side, per se. But I can only imagine that the experiences that I've had have helped me, have shaped me, have molded me to who I am and how I give care. I mean, and what I do see is others' attention, or their ability to be patient, and that's really important. I mean, from aides to caregivers to loved ones to children to doctors to all of it. Those that are sick, chronically ill, you don't know what it's like to be them. So, when you think they're not trying, or you think they're complaining, you don't know what it's like. So, you're not in their shoes. That helps. I think for me, I'm able to step back from that and let it be. I know when I can push, but I know when not to.
Gives you an empathy. You've walked in their
Yeah.
shoes.
And that's true. I tell people this. Just because I had cancer doesn't mean I know what you're going through. I mean, I had my own thing. Even if you had cancer and I had cancer, it doesn't matter. Yours is different. Your experience is different. Your feelings about it is different, just like my dad's, just like me. I handle it way different than my father. But you have to step back from all the school stuff, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do all these exercises. I'm supposed to get you walking. Don't you want to eat? Don't you want to take your pills today? Let's just take a step back and what makes you happy? What do you want to do today? You want to shower? Let's just get a shower, right? You tired today? Let's not worry about getting that visit in. Rest, be with your family. I'll get you tomorrow. That's how it is. That's how it should be. But I still want to remember there's a goal in mind. It's to get better. If you want to get better, I hope you get better. But if you don't want to get better, let's not go there then. Let's just take another avenue. And last week I had a patient that went on hospice and died the next day. And I could see last week that this wasn't happening in therapy, She was 98, so she lived a long life. I'm not going to go and make her walk, So I stopped a couple weeks before the hospice because I just felt that I hope somebody else would do the same, Because you do have family members. There is family saying, Mom, you got to eat. Mom, you got to walk. Mom, do this, do that. Maybe Mom doesn't want to. Who's in control here? And you have to empower them still, even though they may have Alzheimer's or dementia. So I want to give them the ability to make choices. So I want to honor that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We get lost in that sometimes. Myself. You may too. Get lost in that shuffle of being told what to do and when you become the patient. Where is your voice? You want it to be heard. So having my experiences, I guess, have hopefully shaped me to be a good clinician, a good friend, a good father, husband.
Okay, a couple more questions for you.
Yep.
Who's been a role model for you as you've been growing? You've talked about teachers. Is there somebody that stands out that has given you a core to hold on to?
Let me think about this for a moment. It's a good question. There's not one. There always seems to be someone, though, in the stages of my life. And you were very important to me. You are important to me. In fact, you said something when we were at Chipotle once. You said something along the lines of that, I'm here for now to do what I do for you. I am put here to help you. This is what I'm going to do to encourage you, to be your mentor, friend. And I knew that would pass. That moment in time. I would move. And so there's always been someone along in my life that has helped me. Bishop Jones was, what a wonderful person. Spiritual giant to me. Someone that was very
And he was your
powerful.
church leader?
Yes. Bishop Jones was, I guess you would say like a preacher or pastor for us. Just a spiritual man. He has since passed away, but A lot of people pass away around me, huh? Maybe that, no. I don't know. My wife has said, I have never been surrounded with so much death in my life until I met you. That's probably true. But, yeah, I think
So no one stands out.
they all do.
Okay.
Gosh, I mean, they all have an impact, a big impact. You know, there's a connection there, and that connection is love and truth. I think that's it. And that is truly the core of the relationships that I've had with people, is it their ability to express love, support, and there's truthfulness in that. That expands all people, race, color, denomination. That affects your heart. It touches you. And so when you feel that genuine love for someone that's there to help you, I felt that, in my martial arts class from my teacher there. I think a big part of that, though, is being receptive to that. I'm an open book, as you can see. I can tell it how it is and tell you how I feel. But maybe in me just being that's me allows people to come in and tell their story or tell me, help me, love me, support me. So each stage of my life. So Master Martin was my martial arts teacher. Mrs. Belts was wonderful in elementary school. My football coach in middle school. My rugby coach in college. Dave Morrow was incredible for me in my growth in my church. University of Findlay had wonderful teachers. Today I still talk to Julie Toney. She's a part of the PT program that's still here. We just had emails shared a couple weeks ago. We still talk. I think those are lifelong friends forever. And of course my parents. What's interesting about parents is that they seem sometimes to be in the background, always holding you up. They don't get enough support and thank yous.
Enough credit.
Yep. Because for everyone, I mean, everyone here, it's just parents. They don't get enough support, enough thank yous, enough credit for what they do behind the scenes. But now, that's my wife. Whew. Pretty incredible woman.
Brings a lot of strength to you.
Yeah, I think it's humility. Watching her you see, before she met me, she didn't have anybody die in her family yet. She hadn't been to a funeral. When we were dating, her great-great-grandma passed away at 104. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be, right? From what we see. And that was a joyous time to have someone pass. Finally, great-grandma isn't suffering anymore. And then she meets me, sees how life is on this side. And so, humility in the sense that she has to be humbled. I mean, wow, what a woman. To say, I'm going to get in this, I'm going to invest myself in this. Life of cancer, life of, being a mom. The world says, work, be a mom, work, be a mom, or work, don't be a mom, whatever that case may be. And for me personally and my wife, we want her to be home with the children. And if she needs to work, definitely education is important, and she has 2 degrees. But if not necessary, to stay home with the children. And she gets a lot of heat for that, Why aren't you working? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you supporting? Well, her support is in other ways. It may not be glamorous, but that's another, wow, she has to be humbled again. Well, yes, she's always willing to take it. You know what I mean? There's power and strength in someone like that. And so, like I say, I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she is in her place to be so strong as she is. It's almost easier for me, thinking from my point of view, to be in my seat having cancer than yours watching me. I think it'd be harder to watch. So, again, power in my wife, strength in my wife to watch it all.
You've come full circle. You're back in Findlay.
Yep.
What's it like to be back?
It's great. I didn't think I was going to be crying, good grief. But Findlay, man, coming back was not on the radar. I left to experience the world, to get out west, to see what it's like. We had wonderful friends. Gosh, great support system out there. Met wonderful people in Arizona. Out there, I had moved up in the company, was in management. I wasn't actually doing clinical care for a while there. But strong feeling came to come home. And so, again, my wife, she didn't have this feeling. I had this feeling. And so she had to say, okay, that's not something that we wanted to do personally, but we felt that it was the right thing to do. So she jumped on the bandwagon and supported us, got ready to grab the family, and we moved back to Findlay. I'm back in clinical care now. A little bit of change has changed in Findlay, but not much. Different stores. Coming back from Arizona, though, Arizona's brown. We're right in the mountains, gorgeous. So I think I appreciate grass. The fall leaves, we haven't seen that in a long time. Didn't realize how much I missed it. I'm actually looking forward to the snow. But there are friends that I need to keep up, get in contact with again. That's been a challenge with the move. Old friends from high school, family. We have a funeral to go to. A lot has been happening in the past 8 weeks. So getting acclimated, got a home, just moved in, starting a job, 2 jobs, trying to open a business now. I have a lot on my plate. 2 children, So, but coming full circle has been great. It's been really good to see friends and family.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate you. And for all you do and all you symbolize.
Thank you, yes, of course.
Thank you.
Yep.